Today, I just want to share with you a quick little devotion, a quick little word of encouragement, a quick weak connection, if you would. And it comes from one of the greatest science fiction trilogies of all time. And it's not this one. Hi, I'm Ben Avery, and this is Strangers and Aliens. Strangers and Aliens is a podcast and a video channel about the connection between science fiction and spirituality, between fantasy and faith, between creativity and Christianity. And what I like to do sometimes is what I call a weak connection. What is a weak connection? Well, a weak connection is taking some of the things from column A, the science fiction, fantasy, creativity side, and making connections to some of the things from column B, the spirituality, Christianity, faith side. And often the connection between the two is a weak one, as you're taking this little metaphorical thing and applying it to this real life thing. But hopefully, while the connection may be weak, the application will be strong. That's the hope anyway. This is just a thought I had after watching one of, like I said, the greatest science fiction trilogies of all time. And I'm not talking about the Star Wars original trilogy. I'm not talking about the Indiana Jones original 3 movies, which was one of the greatest, tightest trilogies you could get. And now there's 5 of them, so it's not a trilogy anymore. I'm not talking about Star Trek 2, 3, and 4, which is a great little story arc trilogy. I'm not talking about Back to the Future. I'm talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. The case can be made that it's not a trilogy anymore either, because it's volume 1, 2, and 3, but there's also the holiday special, and there's also Infinity War, and there's also Endgame, and there's also the little prologue thing in Thor, Love and Thunder. I mean, technically, let's just call it what it is. It's a trilogy, volume 1, 2, and 3. This is just something I wanted to share, and it comes from a line in the movie that it's a startling line. It's a compelling line. It's a really interesting line, and it's a revealing line. It's a revealing line because it reveals just what the high evolutionary believes and what motivates him, or at least what he thinks motivates him. And it's where he's doing something really bad, and someone says, "For the love of God, you've got to stop." And he says, "There is no God. That's why I stepped in." And it's a great line delivery. It's a great line. It's also really interesting when you put that up in comparison against Captain America's line about God, where he says, "There's only one God, ma'am," and I'm sure he doesn't dress like that. But with this line, it really got me thinking. There is the easy connection, and then there's the easy application. And that easy connection and easy application is to take that line, "There is no God, that's why I stepped in," and take it in the context of Psalm 14. Psalm 14 verse 1 says, "The fool says in his heart, there's no God." That's the easy connection. And the reason it's the easy connection is because that one is a verse that feels like it is about someone else. It feels like it's about the person who's not a believer. And it's very, very easy to take that verse and apply it to someone else and apply it to people out there who, well, I mean, who are literally saying there is no God, or people who are out there living like there is no God. But let's talk about that phrase, living like there is no God, because how many of us live like this? How many of us who say we're Christians will also then live like there is no God? How many of us feel like we have to be the ones who step in? So yes, you can take that application over there for Psalm 14 verse 1, "The fool says in his heart there is no God." And we're going to come back to that, but this is not the time where I'm going to, present this devotion and say this is about other people. No. This devotion is about you. This devotion is about me. And I find myself stepping in, and I would never say there is no God, but my actions may preach that, because there's times when I want to step in where maybe my finances are not where I want them to be, or my finances are not allowing me to do the things that I would like to do. There are times when just things in our life just are completely out of control, whether it's friends or family, our children. There are times when things don't go as we expect, or when things don't go as we hope, or when things don't go as we plan. There are times when just life seems to rebel against us. Our own body might rebel against us health-wise. Our mind might rebel against us because we can't stop thinking about a certain thing or thinking in a certain way. We just know we want to stop, but we can't. And so we say to ourselves, and that's why I stepped in. And again, we may not be saying it out loud, but like it says in Psalm 14, the fool says in his heart, the fool says in their heart, there is no God. And how many of us find ourselves living as if there is no God? Because we want to take control. We want control. We want comfort. We want to be the ones calling the shots. And so we have the High Evolutionary, and he is a great example of how not to live, right? I mean, he's living life as if there is no God. He's living life saying, I'm going to have to step in. I'm the one who's going to have to make sure things are right. I'm going to create my own world. This is a guy who just wants perfection. He only wants perfection. He recognizes the fallen nature of the universe. And there could be a whole video about that someone could do. But I want to focus in on what he's doing, because he wants perfection partially because of his own imperfection. And so he's living a hypocritical life. He's living a life where he is putting up appearances, where he is wearing a false face. He's living a life where he has justified his actions. He's living a life where he is the one who he denies truth or creates his own truth. And these are all things that we can very easily point at other people about. But I want to encourage you to take a few moments right now and self-examine. Do you do that? Do you create your own truth? Do you justify your actions? Do you say, well, I can do this because, so-and-so did that, or do you put up appearances, and the appearance that, everything's fine in my life, and maybe everything is not fine. Now, sometimes, socially we need to do that because there's just not enough time to get into it, right? But I'm talking about in our interactions with our fellow believers, interactions with our family, interactions even with God. And so we have this Psalm 14:1 picture of the fool says in his heart, there is no God. I think that that's a very important detail, in his heart. Now, I haven't taken the time to look at the original Hebrew to see, what does this really mean? I'm taking a look at English translations, but that idea of in his heart, this is not someone who's speaking out and saying there's no God. This is someone who is acting like and living like, and who maybe on outward appearances is saying everything's fine and everything's wonderful and I have a great prayer life and blah, 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 blah. But in the heart, it's hard. And in the heart, I want control. And in the heart, things are not going the way I want them to. And so I'm going to do whatever I can to make my plans work. And that is, unfortunately, how I often find myself living. And that's probably why the High Evolutionary's line struck me and struck a chord so much within me. It's just like, man. And so I want a counterpoint. A counterpoint to Psalm 14, the fool says in his heart, there is no God, comes from Psalm 25. And Psalm 25 says, Lord, I appeal to you. My God, I trust in you. Make your ways known to me, Lord. Teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. I wait for you all day long. Oh, how hard it is to wait all day long. Make your ways known to me, Lord. Teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. I wait for you all day long. That is a life that is not being lived as if there is no God. Now, I'm not saying that when I try and make things go my way that I'm literally saying in my heart there is no God. I'm just acting like it, right? I'm acting like he doesn't know best. And it's hard. It's hard. And I know it is. But I just want to encourage you, when you find yourself in that situation, remember the Psalm 25 life. asking him to make his way known to you, asking him to teach me or teach you his paths, asking him to guide you in his truth, asking him to give you patience, to wait all day long. That's my weak connection. Hopefully, strong application, but I'm convinced that this was put on my heart for someone, and it might have just been put on my heart for me, honestly. And so here I am just sharing it for the world, and it's not for anybody else, okay? But I'm also hoping that the things that I'm being taught will have maybe some impact on someone out there. So anyway, I want to just thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for letting me talk about my random thoughts and my weak connections. Please check out the podcast. Look for Strangers and Aliens wherever you find your podcast. Also, please hit like, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel here. And also, if you think about it, go to benavery.com and buy my book, Ghosts of the Future. It's out now. But until next time, as you walk your paths, and hopefully as you're walking your paths because they are his paths, I just want to wish you, even as you're waiting all day long, Godspeed.